You good chunk.
That's what your scholarship has done.
That's why your scholarship who authorized killing Malcolm X. That's why it was your scholarship who killed Malcolm X. We are not the one because he found the truth. When Malcolm X, rahimahullah, when he came to Mecca and he saw Muslims, not just only black people. He came, he found people who are white, who are black, whites and black, Arabs and non-Arabs. They are playing in the same place, and that's why you killed Malcolm X. You have done that.
Okay, you see all the details he's leaving out here, and you find Muslims doing this all the time with the Nation of Islam. And this is why black people get turned off from people like this brother, Sheikh Muhammad, instantly, because we know he's talking about, he don't know what he's talking about. The way that he's speaking, number one, he's obviously never read the autobiography of Malcolm X, right? If he did, then he would know that Elijah Muhammad sent him to Mecca while he was in the nation, before he left the nation. And Elijah Muhammad paid for that trip. Are y'all hearing me? He would know that. And he's saying because Malcolm X went to Mecca and he saw all these white people, he was shocked, and he came back, he found the truth, and that's why the nation assassinated. Is that why the nation assassinated him? Plus all these other details which he conveniently left out, like the FBI involvement in the assassination of Malcolm X. But when it's Muslims who are trying to refute the nation, they always conveniently leave that part out.
Salaam Alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies.
In 2017, Daniel Hakikachu wrote an article, Stop Claiming Malcolm X. He writes, contemporary mainstream America and American Muslim groups and leaders alike all claim Malcolm X for themselves and believe him to be a part of their history. The reality is that, historically, the mainstream saw Malcolm X as a fringe figure, an anomaly, a rabble-rouser, and the American government itself considered him a dangerous troublemaker to be neutralized. Given how unfortunately some major American and Muslim groups today try their best to align with mainstream America, even when the alignment requires compromising core principles, it is not hard to imagine that they would have kept their distance from Malcolm X, if not outright denouncing him. What Daniel Hakikachu is saying here is 100% spot on and true. As a matter of fact, the main Muslim body in the West had never supported Malcolm X. They always distanced themselves from him, and his support came from the Middle East and African countries, including Saudi Arabia. This is what caused the American government to put a plan in motion to have him assassinated. However, the same thing that Daniel Hakikachu is accusing the main Muslim body of doing, he himself does. Daniel Hakikachu has written several articles about Malcolm X, but they're not about Malcolm X. They're more about attacking what he calls the mainstream Muslims or the liberal body of Muslims. Like this one here, Malcolm X trashes liberals and SJWs. What would Malcolm X think of contemporary social justice warrior activists? We don't have to speculate. He told us very directly, except in his time, the term he used was white liberal. The tactic of the white liberal of his time was precisely the tactics of social justice warriors today, exploiting black suffering for their own political agendas and aspirations, treating the black man as a political football in their power games. So we notice how Daniel Hakikachu conveniently uses Malcolm X to attack liberals. Why does he do that? Because he's alt-right. He doesn't mention anything about Malcolm X's criticisms of conservatives or the Dixiecrats or anything of that nature. The same way that he would have mentioned the social justice warriors is the same way he would have mentioned Daniel Hakikachu's white zaddy, Donald Trump. Malcolm X was in the struggle for black people. He actively sought allyship with Arabs and the wider Muslim community in America at that time. But not only did they outright reject him, they sided with white supremacists. Now you have all these Muslims bastardizing the message of Malcolm X, making him say and believe things he never said or did. So he wasn't in the struggle for black people. His message was the message of can't we all just get along and brotherhood of man, and Islam rejects racism. When Malcolm talked about the wolf and the fox, they have different tactics, but the goal is the same, and that's to devour the sheep. The conservatives are the wolves. They're forthright about their hatred of black people, but the liberals are the fox. They will smile in your face and pretend to be your friend, and right when you least expect it, they pounce. This is like the liberal Muslims and the conservative Muslims. It's no different. Daniel Hakikachu is pretty open about his white supremacist tendencies. Anybody can go on his Telegram and see exactly what he's posting. It's not hidden. He's not hiding it. He's siding with white supremacy openly and freely, and Muslims have nothing to say about it. On the other side, you have these liberal type Muslims who were never there for Malcolm X in the beginning, and all of a sudden they remember who Malcolm X is when it's convenient for them. So again, the question remains, who buried Malcolm X? If Muslims were always these friends in the black community, and they always put Islam first, and we are Muslim first, and we are not black first or Arab first or white first, we're just Muslim first, then where was this Muslim first when Malcolm X died? Let's have a look.
Look at this, y'all. You think it's jokes. You think we love you Negroes. We want to be brothers with you Negroes. Why was Malcolm X's janaza at a black Christian church? For those of you who, subhanAllah, we love you. For those of you who don't know, let me just make this bigger so y'all can see. You know that this is not cap. We have a history here. Malcolm is an excellent ambassador to Islam and the inner city black communities. Those inner city communities, those schools serve as pipelines to prison. Those inner city black communities, by the way, this article is on the Black Dawah Networks if y'all want to see it. Where many don't expect to make it past 21, those inner city black communities, okay, it's going in. Let me just scroll down here, okay? The answer to the questions are found in the revealing book, final chapter, I Buried Malcolm X by Hisham Jabber. Hisham Jabber was responsible for Malcolm X's janaza prayers. According to Jabber, listen, immigrant Muslims were looking for excuses not to attend in Malcolm X's janaza. We're not done yet. That's just the first line. Who was looking for excuses not to attend Malcolm X's janaza? Immigrant Muslims. He states, these communities would proclaim that Hajj Malik was not Muslim.
Malcolm X was a great. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not. Malcolm X found the truth.
These communities would proclaim that Hajj Malik was not Muslim. You spit in the face of black people who stand up for themselves. You said that Malcolm X was a kafir. And now that his legacy is spreading throughout the entire earth, you open your fork-tongued mouth to claim Malcolm X for yourself? How dare you? How dare you? How dare you even speak to us like that? You have always had a long history of abandoning the black communities wherever you go. Let me ask you something. Let me ask y'all something. Have you ever wondered why there are no white American Muslim communities, but there are a ton of imams policing Islam in brown and black Muslim communities? Shout out to Musa Richardson. Shout out to Omar Quinn. Shout out to I studied Arabic for 6 years but don't know Arabic, Daniel Hakikachu. Daniel Hakikachu himself trying to claim Malcolm X. How dare you? You think you are worthy to wag your crap stained fingers that have been up the cracks of your white zaddies' butts at us? You think you're going to teach us a lesson about racism? Is that what you believe? And then, not only that, but make it a religious duty that we do not talk about black issues. And you couldn't even attend Malcolm X's funeral? I told y'all you ain't ready. Later, Hisham Jabber states that we knew, however, that their failure to recognize Hajj Malik at this time was due to, listen, the United States restrictions on their activities and their blatant cowardice. You are brave. You're very brave in the face of black people, the face of the weak, the poor, the oppressed, the downtrodden. You're very brave in front of our faces. But you have no bravado in the face of your white zaddies because you're cowards. That's the truth. That's why Sajid prefers the company of somebody like Daniel Hikikachu, blatant racist, blatant alt-righter, never called him a racist. And don't think he doesn't, he knows very well. He watched my videos, trust me, he knows. He ain't got no work for him. But some obscure, unknown Somalian Muslima hijabiya, he got all this work for her. Because they want the system to keep working exactly how it is. Yes, Salam.
You're good child.
That's what your scholarship
Okay,
is done.
that's why your scholarship who authorized killing Malcolm X. That's why it was your scholarship who killed Malcolm X. We are not the one.
That's right. You weren't the ones who killed Malcolm X. You're the ones that when the black Muslim community came to you to bury the martyr, Malcolm X, you said he wasn't Muslim and he was buried by black Christians. Then you continue to participate in white supremacy and in the destruction of the black community, selling us pork and alcohol and loose cigarettes in our communities while keeping Islam and the money to yourselves. This is what your Muslim first looks like to black people. Remember, y'all, Muslim first.